Good morning, my name is Kaye Keenan and I'm an Impact Manager of Modern Methods of Construction at Construction Scotland Innovation Centre. And I'm here today to have a chat with Stephen Manclark, who's the Construction Manager at Tigers. As it's Scottish Apprenticeship Week, we're here just to talk about, various things around Scottish Apprentice, what it's like to be an apprentice, particularly within the construction industry. And, Stephen, as a construction manager at Tigers, has very kindly agreed to, be interviewed to have a chat about the work that Tigers do. So first of all, happy that you've come along, Stephen. Welcome to the.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Tigers is an organisation that over the past couple of years I've been working more and more with and getting to know more about you. But for people perhaps who are new to Tigers or don't know, about the role that you have in construction, do you want to maybe just tell us a little bit more about the work that you do, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely, Kate. So Tigers are fundamentally a training provider. We operate in a number of different fields. Employability fund. We deliver modern apprenticeships, foundation apprenticeships. We have a number of vocational training programs that school kids can come and engage with at all different levels. I think right now we go from around S2 to S3, right up to S6. So there's a number of different age categories in there as well. And that can range from just health and safety courses right through to actually practical taster courses in which the kids can go out, really get involved in the day-to-day workings on a construction site. We have a custom-made building yard here at the Academy. So not only can they come and do things indoors, we've actually got a template to put them right outside into a building environment where they get to experience not an absolute replication of site, but it's there or thereabouts, and it really lets them open the door into what it could be like if they decided to go on a building site or into an apprenticeship. We deliver some commercial courses as well, and we do that with a lot of our partners. We probably work with around over 50 or 60 partners at the minute, and we deliver health and safety courses to them as well. But I think our bread and butter is really working with young people on modern apprentices and try to develop their skill sets.
Now, I suppose the construction industry in the past has always had this reputation for, it attracts a certain young person, a male, perhaps he's not really doing well at school, he's perhaps someone that's maybe wanting to leave school early on because he's not going to have enjoyed the school experience, and this is something that's, construction is something that he maybe sees as, an option that's a route out. Would you say that's, what you're seeing in Tigers, or is it changing, or
Yeah, I think your sort of description there was right. I mean, myself, when I first started, I started as a painter and decorator, okay, and I was probably one of these people who weren't maybe getting on that well at school, and it was almost looked at upon it, right, we just need to get them out of school, and it's almost the construction industry was there to take us. I think that was probably the case maybe up until about 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it's starting to change now. And I think that's because when people know a little bit more about construction, it isn't just bricks and mortar. There's a number of different things that you can go on and do in the construction industry. And that might be that you want to go on and work in the quantity surveying side of things. You might want to be an architect, a contracts manager. You might want to become a tradesperson, and go on and own your own business. There's so many different pathways to take. When you get into construction, the apprenticeship's just the start. And I think the more and more, I think construction the past 2 or 3 years has done a better job of promoting itself as well and about showing the pathways. And I think that's then changed the perception a little bit. And I think we've still got a lot of work to do, but I do think it's changed ever so slightly. And I think young people coming into the industry now, although they want a trade, they want to be involved in an apprenticeship, they do have dreams and ambitions of going on and doing different things. And we work with a number of employers who have got chief executives now who started as an apprentice, and I think being able to show that pathway is key to young people, so that it doesn't feel like they're coming here just because there's nothing else left to do. This is a real career. You can build a real good life for yourself in construction, depending on what you go on and do. So, but I think it's definitely changed in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And you touched on that whole idea of pathways and being able to move into other areas. And I suppose one of the things that we know about young people nowadays is they're very much, digitally, they're very good at digital, and construction is moving to a more sort of digitisation, and that's one thing that maybe young people don't understand about construction that would maybe attract them to, working in various areas. So in Tigers, one of the things that I've got to know about the work that you do is when you're working with these young people, you're not just looking solely at the skills of the occupation. You take a kind of, I don't know if you would call it a whole-centred approach to young people. Could you tell us more about what the whole-centred approach is?
Yeah, so we almost describe it as a whole person approach, and we focus on the person rather than probably the reason they're here type thing. And I mean, fundamentally, Kay, they come here to get a trade. They come here to, get an apprenticeship or go into employment, and I think that's key. That's a very important part of it. But, we've always said that you can be the best bricklayer, the best painter and decorator, the best plumber in the world, but if you're not comfortable within yourself, and if you've sort of fallen out of love with yourself a wee bit, that isn't sustainable. And what we need to start, especially over the last 2 years, young people have found it really difficult. We've been, in lockdown for a period of time, not getting to socialise in a normal way, missing some school, missing college, whatever it is they've been going on to do. What we need to do is get them some self-confidence back. We need to teach them how to regulate themselves emotionally, so that on that building site, when they disagree with their foreman or their foreperson for the first time, how does that relationship go? Can they rupture with somebody and then go back an hour later, have a discussion about it? Or, because what's happened in the past, and I've certainly seen it when I was an apprentice, that argument can be make or break whether you continue with your employment or not. And we just can't do that anymore. There needs to be an element of it where if we can get them into a mode where they're able to self-regulate, step back, take a breath, be able to have an adult conversation with somebody, you might find that it makes them able to sustain employment. And not only that, there's probably a more serious side to it. And I think it was 2018, there was a study, and 1 in 4 people in construction had admitted to contemplating suicide. And that's just heartbreaking. Like that, I mean, if that was something you could physically see, I think there'd be a medicine made for that by now. There would be a cure for that, but because it's almost a hidden killer, it's dead difficult because you just don't know. You don't know what people are thinking and what's going on in people's lives. And what we want the young people here to try and understand is actually it's all right. You mentioned it earlier about the construction industry and having this certain perception, and one of the perceptions it's had, it's almost you just have to get on with it because that's just what you do. You go to a building site and just get on with it, and that's just not true. You don't just have to get on with it. There is loads of people that want to listen to you. They want to speak to you. They want to hear about all your problems, and they want to help you as well. Actually, they want to be that person that can help. But we need to encourage people to talk. And whilst I agree with it, it's okay to talk type sort of message to get out there. I agree with that. But we also need to let people know how to talk, how to discuss that, how to open up that conversation. How do you sit down and say to somebody, I'm not actually all right today. I'm actually pretty sad, and here's why. So I think the message about being able to talk and it's okay to talk, I think that's great. I think what we need to look at now is how do we encourage that and how do we give people the tools to be able to open that conversation up. So that's what we try and do here. We do that in a number of different ways, and the hope is that if we can get the young people that are working here at the minute to take that message out into the construction industry, then maybe in 30, 40 years time, all these young people that have been working here will be managers or supervisors or CEO, whatever it is, and that message will then filter down to the teams that they work within. So I suppose that's the way we're trying to go with it at the minute.
It's almost developing best practice, and then when those people develop and they progress in their careers, they will have those tools, those management tools, and being able to regulate and understand, that emotions and differences are things that happen in the workplace, which do happen everywhere. And I really like the way that you're taking on a very sort of taboo subject and a very, what was perceived as a macho occupation in the past. And I suppose with males, particularly young males, sometimes it can be difficult for them to talk about, their feelings or whatever. And I know, Stephen, you were saying that you really have this approach where you talk to them about it's okay, if you have a disagreement, let's figure out, how we can go on for it or how we can solve it. Can you let us know about some of the things that you use within Tigers? Because I know that you actually have specific, tools that you use. in order to sort of encourage this sort of way, this approach?
Yeah, so we use a model, a delivery model called relationship-led practice, and there's a sort of number of different things that go into that. But fundamentally, it's just putting good, healthy relationships at the heart of delivery. And the way in which we do that is, so if I can give it, we almost want young people to, you know, in the past it was like whatever's going on outside, once you get to this front door, and not just with young people, we do this with adults sometimes as well. We expect people just to be able to put whatever's happening to the back of their mind and come in and put on this sort of performance during their working day because it's business and that's just what you have to do. And, you know, I think especially over the last 2 years with everything that's happened with COVID, we've realised that that's just not how it works. You know, we're human beings at the end of the day and we can't switch on and switch off depending on what environment we're in. So what we're trying to do is provide an environment where they can come and whatever they've got going on, yes, okay, they need to sort of regulate themselves, they need to be able to deal with that. They need to be responsible for their own emotions, but they've got somebody to talk to. And one of the first things we'll do when they come into Tigers is they won't just come in and get right on with their work. We try and provide a breakfast for them, where they can have a tea and a coffee, maybe some orange juice, whatever it is they want, Kay. And that can take up to maybe 20 minutes to half an hour. And what they can basically do is come in and just have a chat, just talk, have a coffee, have a tea, have something to eat, and just chat, just connect with people, you know, and get to know people, get to know their peers, they could be talking about anything, Kay. They could be talking about the weekend, they might be talking about work, they might be talking about food, they could be talking about whatever they want, but just to socialise with somebody, and hopefully, you know, that helps regulate them for the working day. I think one of the biggest things that's changed with relationship-led practice is when I first came into training and frontline delivery, probably about 5 years ago, and this is a flaw on my part. I almost thought that if somebody was in my training room with a hat on or their hood up, I almost felt like that must stop right away, because it almost felt like you're not ready to learn, you know. And I was very guilty of saying to people, you can't come in this training room with a hat on or your hood up, get it down or get the hat off or whatever. And I think, you know, doing all the learning that we've done at Tigers over the past 5 years, actually that hat or that hood being up could be the difference between that young person being there and not being there. And that might be the wee sort of source of security, just to keep that hood up until they feel comfortable enough to take it down. So what you'll find now is the team in Tigers are quite flexible when it comes to things like that. Now, of course, there'll be a point where, you know, we have to have a conversation, you know, if you're 4 weeks in and that's happening. But fundamentally, if you're in here and you've got your hood up, then there's probably a reason you're doing that. And what we're very conscious of now is not to try and take that blanket of security right away from them and just leave it be. We work a lot on their health and well-being with them. So that's physical, emotional, nutritional. The nutritional side, it's not really telling anybody what to do, Kay. It's almost just giving a little bit of advice and guidance and saying, if you are in training and at lunchtime you go and buy a double cheeseburger, chips with a big can of fizzy juice, you will hit a wall in the afternoon, and that will make it difficult for you to learn and for you to continue to engage with that lesson. So we just try and encourage some healthy eating and things like that. Our biggest challenge now is these energy drinks. The cans only about that size. They cost about 35 pence, and you know, it seems to be young people drinking them more than anybody, and it gets them up here in the morning, and then by the afternoon, you know, they're sort of hitting a lull again. So we try and encourage them not to do that, drink the water and things like that. On the physical side, we try and encourage them to go wellness walks in the morning. Again, that's just about keeping them in the right headspace, keeping their bodies nice and on the go. But again, it brings that connection side to it. So if they're walking beside somebody that maybe not had a chance to get to know, I mean, we're very fortunate. We've got Springburn Park, a 10-minute walk, and it just gives them a chance to get to know that person. You know, they've maybe not had a chance to know them. So it's really looking after the whole well-being. And on the emotional side, there's a number of different things we do. We've done mindfulness with the young people before. That can be anything from a minute to 5 minutes, depending on how the young people are feeling. Probably one of the biggest things we've done is kit bag. I know we'll maybe going to talk about that. But in general, Kate, it's really just taking time to get to know that individual, taking time to understand individual barriers, needs, the challenges, and building that positive relationship. And I remember, you know, probably if it wasn't, I had one good relationship when I was an apprentice. I mean, I don't mean I had one good person. I had loads of good people in my work, but I had a really good relationship with one person. And I honestly think that if I hadn't had that throughout my 4 years, I probably wouldn't have completed my apprenticeship. So, do you know what? I think there's no better sort of example how important relationships are than probably that. And fundamentally, that's what relationship-led practice is: building a good relationship so that you are that person, you are that mentor. Do you know? Hopefully, that makes it more sustainable for the young person.
You're investing in their welfare, and what you're going to get back from that is they're going to invest their time in their training, and then if their training is successful, they're going to move into a career. So it's worth it, rather than, you know, we have dropouts all the time in apprenticeships, and we see people, you know, just after 1 or 2 years moving on into other areas just because it's maybe too difficult for them, like broken down relationships, maybe they just feel isolated. And, you know, these feelings of isolation we hear a lot about with particularly male apprentices. And I know you mentioned the kit bag, and I know this is a strategy that you use at Tigers, where you have something. Sometimes a lot of younger males find it difficult to talk about their emotions and their feelings. So you maybe explain a wee bit more about what kit bag is and how that can encourage that.
Yeah, so kit bag is, it's almost a little bit cloth. It's only about that size. It's not a big tool, and it's wrapped up, and inside it there's a number of different tools. So you've got feelings cards, you've got presence card, you have a talking stick, you have all these different tools that all they do is act to generate a conversation. Probably the best thing about kit bag is there's no right or wrong way to use it. There's a number of different ways you can use it, depending on the size of your group, you know, what it is you're trying to achieve. But fundamentally, it's just to generate and open up a conversation. And the first couple of times you use it, you may find that, I mean, there's one card in it that's just got different colours on it, all different colours, Kay, and you can pick any colour you want. So what I would do if I was starting a team meeting is I would just go around the room and say, pick a colour and tell me how you're feeling today. And there's no rhyme or reason for whatever colour you pick. It's completely up to you. Some people will pick a colour because it's what they're wearing, or they just feel a certain way, or they might pick a colour because they feel emotional or feel like they would like to talk about something in particular. There's also little teddies in it, and I'll be completely honest, when this was first introduced to me as a construction worker, and I almost took a step back and went, right, okay, but I couldn't see how that was going to work. I didn't see how we were going to engage young people into the conversation using the cuddly toys, and I've been very open and honest about that. And then probably it must have been about 3 or 4 weeks after I'd first been introduced to it, we had sat, and I won't go into the full story because, you know, that there was people involved that might still be about here, but there was 2 young males in particular who had never get on. Okay, they'd never ever get on, and there was a lot of background there, and we ended up having to split them up into different groups, and there was a lot going on. Whatever happened, they ended up back into the same group. We were a little bit worried about how that was going to go, and we got them all in the room and done kit bag. And what ended up happening there was one of the young guys was able to actually take the card and talk about how he actually felt and how he felt vulnerable, and nobody really expected that. And the young guy who really hadn't been getting on with was sitting next to him, and when they finished, the young guy grabbed the card off him, and I thought, oh no, here we go, this is going to result in some sort of, and actually, you know, what he went on to do in his own colourful language, and he went on to sort of say that he apologised almost, and he sort of said that, you know, from then on out, you know, that he was going to have his back type thing. And again, he done it in his very original own way, but fundamentally that's what he said. That's what he said, and I couldn't believe it. You know, me and another colleague sort of stood back and went, wow, you know, that's never seen anything like that before, definitely. So from then on, there was no, you can't sell that. You know, try to sell that to anybody. That is what it is. That's happened right in front of your eyes. So and at that point, I couldn't walk away and say, oh, I'm not sure if that'll work. Like, it does work. You know, we've just seen that work. So from then on out, we absolutely rolled it out in Tigers, and I could, you know, tell you about numerous occasions where it's worked. And again, it's just about generating that conversation. The first 3 or 4 times, you might get nothing from it, Kay. They might go around the room and say, yeah, I'm all right. Or you might find that maybe a young person picks a certain colour every day. And then you might find that on a Friday, they pick a different colour. And over time, you'll get to understand the pattern of that. And why is it that on a Friday, they pick that colour? You know, I wonder what it is that happens on a Friday that they picks that, or why on a Tuesday afternoon they always feel that way. Where are they going on a Tuesday night, or what are they involved in on a Tuesday morning? So it's just about realising the pattern and giving them an opportunity to say what it is they want to say. Because we spoke about it earlier on, you know, it's okay not to be okay, and the message that sends is a fantastic message. But then this kit bag can almost be the tool. Okay, I'm not okay then. How do I then open up that conversation? How do I begin to talk about it? And this kit bag can just be a tool to do that. So you could just, you know, you could be going this for weeks, and eventually a young person might just say, actually, I've been picking this colour because I don't actually feel great. In the last 2 weeks, I've not felt great, and here's why I think it is, and here's what I'm trying. So the kit bag itself is a tool, and it's almost as though, you know, if you want to hammer a nail in, I would give you a hammer. This kit bag, if we're trying to open up conversation, this kit bag is a tool to try and do that. You know, and what I would always recommend is trying to use it in smaller groups to give, you know, it gives a little bit more autonomy for young people to be able to talk. But I have used it in groups of 12 to 15, and it doesn't have to be, you know, every time doesn't have to be a big revelation. I've used it, and what I try and do is encourage positive contributions for the members of the group. So I'll put cards out, and these cards have got pictures of animals on it with words at the top. And I'll put all the cards out and say, okay, I want everybody to pick a card and give it to somebody in the group, and I want you to tell me why you're giving it to somebody in that group. And you'll get some sort of funny ones, you'll get some people doing things in jest, but you'll get some serious ones as well. You'll get some people giving them because they feel that they need it. You know, they need a bit of this, or they need a bit of love, or they need a bit of that. And it's good, it's really nice to see. And it just encourages this idea that actually, and you mentioned it earlier, I think especially in the west of Scotland, we've got this, young males especially, that the only way to communicate with each other is to have a bit of banter. It's the only way we can communicate sometimes is to put each other down until we've not got anything else to say. Whereas actually what this does is encourages positive contributions to conversation. You know, to tell me something nice about this person, and it's a lot easier to do that if you've got a tangible card to give them and tell them why you're doing it.
I think as well, it's this idea of, well, you're training them at the same time you're building emotional resilience. And if they have that emotional resilience while they're undertaking their training, they can take that forward when they move on in their career. And that's really important, because sometimes that can be the stumbling blocks of someone progressing, you know, when they maybe go on and work in a big construction company, or they're working in it with small SMEs. I mean, I know CITB, they did a mental health study last year, and one of the main things they identified with SMEs was, you know, the occupational stressors that people in construction have, and it was those who were working in, you know, your traditional craft trades that were coming back with these, you know, poor mental health indicators at times, because they were stressed about their work. They maybe didn't know if they were maybe going to lose their job. They were working away from home. I think what you've just been describing, Stephen, for the past 20 minutes is a fantastic way for young people, and possibly, you know, adults working in the industry as well, to look at ways of coping and developing their resilience.
Yeah, and do you know, Kay, you mentioned it earlier, and that's key for us. I think young people, adults, whoever it is, we almost have a belief in society that resilience is just something you get. Everybody's just got resilience, and that's just not the case. You know, resilience is built up over what happens to you from your younger years through your teenage years and your 20s. So if we haven't been in an environment which has allowed us to build that resilience, then we maybe haven't got as much resilience as the person sitting next to us. And so it's no fair almost to say, you know, the two of you people just have to be the same, because we're not the same. You know, we've not had the same experiences, the same environments, and we'll both have our challenges, but it just might mean that we've got different challenges. And the job of us then as educators is to try and help build that resilience a little bit, because if they've not got it, we can't expect them to use it, because they might not have the same resilience as somebody else. So how do we take them in and build that resilience, so that when we do have a bit of rupture, they can then repair that easier? Because if you have that rupture and the resilience isn't there, that repair becomes almost impossible. You know, so that for me is key, absolutely.
Stephen, it's been wonderful to talk to you about this today. It's really good to hear about organisations and training providers like yourself, who are really, you know, going out there and making this, you know, at the forefront of their ethos and what they do. And, you know, I think if you were a young person right now and you were thinking about a career in construction, you know, working with Tigers definitely sounds like a really, really good experience in terms of developing your potential. So I really appreciate you coming along today to discuss this. Thanks.
No, that was great. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks.